Well, have you ever had anything unfair happen to you? I think we all have. Well, sometimes things happen to us that seem unfair, that are hurtful. Sometimes we trip and fall, and we find that after the fall, we learn some things that we wouldn't have learned any other way. When I was young, uh, I loved playing basketball, but I got suspended 10 games my junior year, and at the time I thought it was unfair, but looking back, I see that it was really all allowed by God. It was part of His plan to develop something in me that I still carry today. And basically, what I learned from that is to never take anything for granted, and to value the things that the gifts that God gives you, value the people that God gives you too, things of that nature. And so when I think about unfair situations, if we look in Matthew chapter 26, it begins to talk about what happened on the Wednesday prior to the crucifixion. And Judas Iscariot, for 30 pieces of silver, plots to kill Jesus. And if you look at it on the surface, it looks like a tragedy. But if we pick up the situation, pick up the scene on Sunday after the resurrection, we see that what man meant for harm, God used for good. If we go back to the Old Testament in Genesis chapter 50, verse 20, we find that Joseph, after his brothers sold him into slavery and all those things transpired for him, he got to a spot in Genesis chapter 50, verse 20, where he was able to confront his brothers, and his brothers felt bad for what they did, but Joseph, and this is a picture for us, and we can apply it to our lives. Joseph says, "You meant it for evil, to harm me, but God meant it for good." And then it says to save, or so that it is as it is today, to save the lives of many. And so we find that on this Wednesday, what Judas Iscariot meant for harm, and one of the Gospels even says that Satan entered Judas, which tells us we probably ought not judge people, but understand that sometimes people do evil things because the enemy uses them. But that's another topic. But back to the topic, the things that the enemy means for harm, God uses for good. And so what Judas meant for harm, 3 days later, we're going to talk about that in a few days. But anyway, so if anything is, if you're going through a difficult situation and you feel like you've been handed an unfair hand, just hang on. God's going to use it for good. Now, I know that's easy for me to say and sometimes hard to hear, but I believe God wanted me to tell you that tonight. That no matter what you're going through, God, for the believer, will use it for good. Hope y'all have a wonderful Wednesday night, and I look forward to seeing you on the Resurrection Sunday. If you don't have a place to go, come to Daniel Boone. We'd love to have you with us on Resurrection Sunday. Everyone have a good evening.